tell you my two great boarding school stories.
Yeah.
The first night I got to boarding school, you are scared because you can't believe you're going to live away from home, I guess, for the rest of your life at this point. Like, I mean, you'll come home and visit, but
Mm.
it's early.
Yeah, that is wild.
And I had taken a tour of the board, and a tour of a boarding school means you stay over that night. And I kind of liked the kid I stayed over with. So I was like, all right, well, I got kind of one friend. He was a ninth grader now, but I was like, I know one kid. It seemed like a group of nice kids. And my mom was,
And a refresher, you were 13?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
my mom was crying when she left. And I was like,
Mm.
wait, should I be really sad about this? And then my roommate didn't speak a lot of English, turned out to be a great friend of mine, but we didn't communicate that well right off the bat. And he had a fan that made like a lot of noise at night. And I was like, can you turn that off? And he was like, no. Yeah, he saw a lot of English. But he was much bigger than me. And he was like, that's nocturne. And so I just sit there at night with this fan, like, And I said, I'm out of here. Like, this is a bad idea. I miss my home. You don't know how good something else can be. So but that weekend, they don't want you to leave because they know if you just go on some of these weekend activities, you're going to, Penn, it seems like you know where I'm going with this. But they know if you leave, you'll never come back. So you can't leave. But I went.
I'm just laughing at that. Like, frankly, they're like, if we let these children go, they will never.
Well, I mean, I did the same thing at camp 2 years ago before that when I'd gotten to camp, which was I called my parents. They don't let you call for 3 days. Then you can call. And I called and said, if you don't come, pick me up. Like, I'm sorry to say this, but I am going to commit suicide. I remember my mom was like, we gotta get him out of there. And my dad was like, just let him. He's not gonna. But I mean, they were having a fight at home clearly about it. They didn't come pick me up. And not only did I start having such a good time at camp, one kid says hi to you basically, and then you're like, oh, okay. I remember I never called home again. And then towards the end of camp, they have
They're like, did he?
Yeah, no, exactly. Right. They had to call a counselor to find out if
okay?
I followed through. But like they had to like 2 weeks into camp, because they know kids are then having so much fun, they don't care about their parents at all. They made you bring a letter with you to get into dinner on that night. And I was having so much fun that I just addressed an empty envelope. And this is like, 10 days after telling my parents I was going to kill myself if I didn't remember. And then I just, like, my dad, can you imagine this guy going out to the mailbox, opening up, like, whoa, I got a letter from us. And then there's nothing inside. I was really messing with him. But that is the trajectory. And I'm sure my dad kind of understood that. So that week, I employed my acting abilities, and I said to all my teachers, my uncle died, which, by the way, I didn't even have an uncle. But I was like, my uncle passed away, and I have to go to his funeral this weekend, so I do actually need permission to leave. And they were like, all right, fine. And so I got permission to go. I packed like my whole duffel bag. I was like waiting out on the curb, like just sitting there. My dad had to drive like 3 hours up to pick me up. And then as I'm waiting, that girl who gave me the nickname Topher walked up and was like, hey, are you going on the rock climbing trip this weekend? And I was like, what? She said, yeah, I was hoping you'd go on the rock climbing trip. I said, oh, actually, my uncle died. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, we weren't that close. Like, I don't really know him. But I have to go. And then my dad pulls up like honk honk. And I was like, ooh, like, I guess he just drove 3 hours. I can't be like, sorry, I don't want to go. So I went home that weekend, and the whole weekend was like, guys, when can we get back to the school? My parents were so confused. And then
this girl changed your life.
yeah, she really did. I'm still in touch with her. She's awesome. And very cool, like a very cool human too. And my second story is, okay, so the next weekend, I should preface this by just saying that my whole life had not gone well up until this point. So this isn't like it was all victories for me. This just it was a nice change of schools.
Yeah.
But that summer before I went to boarding school, I was like, what I have to do is be funny. Like, I figured it out. I was not a funny guy, but I was like, I think I am not going to be strong. I figured out at this point, like, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be an athlete. Um, but I think I can be funny. I've been funny in some of the plays I've done sometimes. So I studied like a lot of Gary Larson Far Side calendars that we had around the house.
Far Side. Wow, that's such a throwback. Nobody's named the Far Side calendars. That is such a
Oh, yeah.
specific.
There's 365 examples of how to be funny in there.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I
Okay.
studied,
All right.
I got like a cassette tape of Robin Williams live at the Met, which is like a lot of him talking
Those are
about
polar
cocaine
opposites
addiction. What's that?
comically. Yeah, I was saying those are
Yeah, yeah.
polar opposites comically because the Far Side is like very like mild mannered
Yes.
in its
I did
humor,
anything
you
that
know,
was
and
funny
Robin
work.
Williams
I was like,
is
what
not.
is, like Comedy Central had just come on the air. So I was like, okay, I'll watch a lot of that. Like a lot of Kids in the Hall. I was just like, I gotta cobble together being funny because I'm gonna introduce a new me, which I was desperately trying to do. And I guess I tried to be funny a little bit in this in the school I was going to, and the kid who was the most popular kid there, who was kind of the king of that place, he was like a put down guy. He was like a roastmeister. So like, first of all, he was the best looking guy in our school. So that could have been enough for him. But if anyone ever kind of like challenged him, he had like a lot of quips and he'd kind of keep people down. And that, I don't know, that kept him powerful, I guess. And I really didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. Like I thought like if I was ever popular, I wouldn't do it that way. But then I went to this new school and there was a new guy who was the guy. And I remember on the first kind of like weekend activity we went to, he was in the back of the bus and he was dating, by the way, the girl who I thought was attractive because they were the most attractive two people. So he had his arm around her and everyone on the bus was kind of just looking back at them, because they were the golden couple.
Oh, jeez.
And a moment came where there was like a joke and I was like, oh, I think this could be funny. I forget what it was, but I made the joke like loud. And everyone kind of got quiet because I hadn't spoken yet. And he turned around and he goes, like, dude, what is your name? And I was like, Topher, which I hadn't said like more than 4 times.
I think.
Yeah, I know. I
birth
guess
of
that's my
Topher
name.
Grace. Yeah, this is a Genesis story.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he goes, whoa, hold up. He goes, this dude is fucking hilarious.
Whoa! That's not what I thought was gonna happen.
And then everyone
Yeah.
started laughing. Like they were
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, if you say it's funny.
Wow.
yeah.
And this guy,
Topher's
I just saw him. He
hilarious.
just came out here
Yeah.
to LA a couple months ago. He's still a great friend of mine. Actually, I'm gonna shout out.
I love that you're still
Dave
friends.
Achterhoff. He like changed my
What
life.
a
He was a
name.
benevolent king. He's a benevolent.
Wow.